Jussie Smollett's hate crime conviction got overturned today. And I'm not a lawyer, but I read all 32 pages of the Supreme Court opinion, and it's interesting. Let me tell you about it. You probably remember that Jussie Smollett said he was the victim of a hate crime back in 2019. The Chicago police investigate, and they say he actually orchestrated this hate crime attack on himself. So he's eventually indicted on 16 counts, basically saying that he made a false report to police that he was a victim of a hate crime. Now, after he's indicted, a woman named Kim Foxx, who was the state attorney, recuses herself because it was rumored that she had conversations with members of Smollett's family. And so she hands the case over to her assistant. And then a little after 2 weeks, that assistant says in open court that they want to null pros or not prosecute the charges. Specifically, the assistant says to the judge, after reviewing the facts and circumstances of the case, including Mr. Smollett's volunteer service in the community and agreement to forfeit his bond to the city of Chicago, the state's motion in regards to the indictment is to null pros. We believe this outcome is a just disposition and appropriate resolution to this case. Basically, the state and Jussie Smollett agreed that the state would not prosecute him as long as he paid a $10,000 bond and did some community service. So Jussie completes his part and then the state doesn't prosecute him. But then a little less than a month later, a retired appellate judge files a motion asking about Kim Foxx's recusal and how this resolution of this case actually came to be, and saying that a special prosecutor should be assigned to this case. So this is all argued in front of a judge, and that judge grants the motion, saying that this null pros resolution was shocking to the officialdom and to the community, and also notes that the then mayor and then president had both made statements condemning what happened with this case. So special prosecutor is assigned, the case goes to trial, and Jussie is ultimately convicted. So Jussie appeals his conviction, basically saying, me and the state had an agreement. I pay $10,000 and do community service, and they don't prosecute me. They're reneging. But in response to that, the state says that null pros is different than dismissal with prejudice. A dismissal with prejudice disposition means that we cannot re-prosecute you. Null pros just means we're not prosecuting you right now. Jussie's initial appeals are denied, and then it goes up to the Illinois Supreme Court. And Jussie actually lists 5 reasons why he says that this conviction should be overturned. And those reasons are, number 1, he entered into a non-prosecution agreement with the state that should be enforced. Number 2, double jeopardy considerations precluded the second prosecution because he had already been punished for those same offenses. Number 3, the trial court was wrong in denying his Rule 412 motion to compel the OSP to disclose to the court for an in-camera review its notes from interviews with 2 key witnesses. OSP is Office of the Special Prosecutor. Number 4, his sentence was excessive and influenced by proper aggravating factors. And number 5, the restitution order was in error because of problems of proof and because the city of Chicago and the Chicago Police Department cannot be considered victims under the applicable statute. But the Supreme Court says, we actually agree with number 1, so we're not even going to go into reasons 2 through 5 because reason number 1 is good enough. In the Illinois Supreme Court's opinion, they actually go back to that statement that was made in front of the judge when he said, after reviewing the facts and circumstances of the case, including Mr. Smollett's volunteer service in the community and agreement to forfeit his bond to the city of Chicago, the state's motion in regards to the indictment is to null pros, pointing to the fact that there was an agreement. And then they also point out that when that judge, the one who assigned the special prosecutor, was granting his order, he noted that there was no admission of guilt or plea when the agreement was consummated. Again, there was an agreement. The Illinois Supreme say it is clear that both sides had an agreement and that it was supposed to be final. They say in the report, there is no indication anywhere that the state attorney's office intended to further prosecute the defendant, and there is every indication that this case was considered resolved. They also say it doesn't even make sense that Jussie Smollett would agree to give $10,000 over and do community service if he knew that the state just planned to re-indict him. And so they say this was an agreement. Jussie held up his side of the bargain, and now y'all have to hold up y'all's. In their conclusion, they say, we are aware that this case has generated significant public interest and that many people were dissatisfied with the resolution of the original case and believed it to be unjust. Nevertheless, what would be more unjust than the resolution of any one criminal case would be a holding from this court that the state was not bound to honor its agreements upon which people have detrimentally relied. Further down, they say, we reverse the judgment of the appellate court, reverse the judgment of the circuit court, and remand with cause directions for the circuit court to enter a judgment of dismissal. Judgments reversed. And so these charges are officially dropped against Jussie Smollett because it looks like the state was trying to play dirty. How y'all feel about this one?